What do you see West Indies' chances in this series as?
I think they've got a chance. I think they've got a puncher's chance because with that bowling attack, I think they're always going to present problems to any side, particularly with the Duke's ball and on English wickets. So I definitely think there's a chance. But I still think that England are probably favourites. Just history suggests that. But I do think that, with Joe Root missing this first test, a very inexperienced top four for England probably. I do think that West Indies have a chance to win for the first time since 1988. But I'll be clear, I think England are favourites.
Yeah. What's going to be key though for West Indies to beat England? Often or not, they really start playing cricket by then the second test. Is that something they have to change to win in England this
Yeah,
time
of
around?
course. Of course, because with England missing Joe Root in this first test, it's a real opportunity to get stuck into them. Look, both sides have had imperfect preparation. There's no way around that. We know that. They're in pretty much the same position. There'll be no crowds. If that helps anyone, and I don't think it makes much difference, it's probably West Indies. I would be a bit worried about the West Indies batting, and particularly the top order batting, a little bit like England actually, in that they've got a strong middle order. But I think that is a worry. And you look at the record books and you look at the England bowling options as well. I'm a bit worried about that West Indies batting.
But are you confident enough they could able to replicate the same formula they had against England in the Caribbean in terms of being able to see off Anderson and Broad and essentially bring the middle order more to play against the spinners? Is this something they could try again against England here?
Yeah, it is. Well, look, if you've got Gabriel and Roach in particular bowling as well as they did in that series, you've always got a chance. And it's still Duke's ball. I'm not positive the pitches are going to suit them quite as much. I don't expect them to be that typically English. Old Trafford in particular it's just a good test wicket, old-fashioned test wicket in a way. I'm not so sure what to expect at Southampton, but I think it might be a bit of a slow seamer. Certainly the warm-up game has looked pretty slow. So that formula, though, with the seam options West Indies have, Jason Holder, Isaiah Joseph as well, that's really, really dangerous. I mean, with this ball, English conditions, that's going to trouble any side. So West Indies definitely have, as I say, a puncher's chance because that is a dangerous attack. It could hurt anybody. And what we saw in that series was a little bit odd, though, because if you remember, England were bowled out in Barbados for, I want to say 77, but something very low anyway, in the first innings. And I didn't think they batted that badly. I just thought the bowling was sensational. But in the second innings, they were bowled out for, say, 250. I can't remember what it was. And Roston Chase took an eighter. Now, that was what, from an England perspective, should be the worry. There's no disgrace to be bowled out by Kemar Roach when he's bowling like that. It's brilliant. To lose 8 to Roston Chase, that is interesting. I'll be very interested to see whether West Indies go into the tests with Roston as the first spinner or whether they can make room for Rakeem Cornwall, because it's very hard to go into the game with those 4 seamers and Rakeem without weakening the batting. So that I think will be a really interesting area.
What are your thoughts, though, on the option of pushing either Dorridge up to 6 or Holder up at 6 and probably bringing in Cornwall or Chimar Holder?
Yeah. Well, I think it would be Cornwall, wouldn't it? You wouldn't want 5 seamers, would you? But I like it in theory. But how many runs has Jason Holder scored on the tour? I mean, is it 1 in 3 innings or something? I mean, it's something really grim, isn't it? So, it's not an ideal time to be pushing him up the order, but I guess we know he's a class player. That would be the bold thing to do. I really do think that Alzari Joseph could have a special series. I think he's got a lot about him, and it would be a real shame not to go in with him. I don't know. Personally, I'm not sure I'd pick Cornwall, actually. But I think he'd be very hard to drop. He got a 10 for in his last test, didn't he?
Yeah, 10 for 121 against Afghanistan. Different conditions, though.
And they'll probably feel if he came in at 8-9, whatever he came in, that he would add some, I don't want to say ballast because it sounds like I'm having to go at him, but he would add something to the batting as well, wouldn't he, in the lower order? So that's a really difficult decision, and it's I suppose one they will make after they've had a look at the surface in Southampton. But I'm sure England will play a spinner.
Yeah, from the English point of view, how are they finding it in terms of finding their best top four now without Root there? They've struggled, I think, since Strauss retired to really find some good openers.
Yeah, they have. They have struggled. You're absolutely right. I mean, Dom Sibley came into the side over the winter, and he did quite well in South Africa. Actually, he got a very important 100. I think it was in Cape Town. So he's looked all right. I think that West Indies fast bowlers will test him with the short ball, the ball into the armpit. I think that'll be really interesting to watch, and I think he's going to be challenged. Rory Burns has done well. He's done pretty well. But you're right. The England top four is fragile. Unproven, I suppose you might say, if you've been charitable. And I fear they're going to stick with Joe Denley. I don't think they should. I don't think he's up to it. I personally would bring in Dan Lawrence, who I think's the real thing. But I think they might stick with Denley for this test at 4 and play Zach Crawley, who's very talented, but he is also very young, and he hasn't actually scored very many runs. So he's been picked on promise. He does look good. I think he's one I'd invest in, if you like. But, you look at that and you Akeem Roach and you think, he's licking his lips, He's got a real chance to take some wickets in this series.
And the big battle, I noticed the English press have gone big into this, Jofra Archer against West Indies. Did you expect Jofra to really blow away the West Indies here, or it could be a subdued battle as compared to what we're anticipating?
I don't think it'll be subdued. I mean, I think he's a fantastically talented cricketer. I mean, I really do think the ceiling with him is incredibly high. And I think that you can understand why people are excited by him, because in England, bowlers like that come along very, very rarely. I mean, he's got everything, hasn't he? Now, he's not the finished article. He had quite a disappointing winter, really. And he's still learning. But he has won a World Cup for England already. Yeah, he's been playing international cricket for 1 year. And I think he's taken 3 fifers in the half dozen or so tests he's played. I think he's a very special cricketer, but we have to still be a little bit sensible about our expectations. I think he'll give his all. I think West Indies will give their all against him. I think the rivalry will be friendly. It'll be competitive, of course. I don't see it as a huge drama. The other thing I'd say is I'm not sure he's England's quickest bowler. I think Mark Wood will probably be the quickest bowler in the series. Whether he can stay fit or not is obviously always a doubt with him, but he's a sensational cricketer. And you'll remember that performance in St. Lucia, where he bowled seriously fast. He did the same thing against the against South Africa in the last test there, which were, I think he took a 9 for in his last test. He cannot be left out if he's fully fit. And the prospect of Archer and Archer and Wood in tandem is, really, really wonderful. I really hope we get quick wickets. I fear we won't, because to see, Joseph, Roach, Gabriel, Wood, Archer, I mean, that's vintage Test cricket. That's a lot of fun to watch. So that's what I'm hoping for, and I think everyone right around the world will enjoy that, because this series is really important, isn't it? Because cricket lovers have been starved of cricket, and wouldn't it be great if all the eyes were on this series? It's a great opportunity for both sides and for the game, I think.